Today, we're actually going to be talking about the protesters that are actually storming our universities across America. We saw this at Columbia University. We saw this at NYU University. Well, NYU, U stands for university. We saw these at all of the major universities all throughout America. And it's a sad, sad day because these are supposed to be accredited schools. And then we have people like this.
I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU's doing?
Coming out of the protests, not even knowing what they're even protesting for. Doesn't make any sense. With that being said, we're going to be digging into that and a little bit more on today's episode.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
Digging right in, what are they actually doing? What, when, where, and why? So, what are these people doing? These people are actually going on the scene, sleeping at the campus parks. They have the whole entire I would say the main structure for each of these colleges taken over. This has happened since the beginning of the week. If you have not heard about that, they've taken over the main part of the colleges, but they are given thousands and thousands of dollars of food and tents and all the gear that they actually need to encamp on the campuses from the donors. So George Soros has been one of the people that have been donating to these centers to actually organize these protesters. And then we actually have the Rockefeller campuses donation center actually donating to this organization also. So that's the why, that's the where, that's the what are they doing now? Why are they doing this? So supposedly they are doing this because of the fact that their colleges have been having these stocks with Israel. That's it. They have a stock with Israel, and they do not want this stock to be held by the college anymore because that's quote unquote enabling a genocide in the Middle East, which does not make sense whatsoever because of the fact that Israel is not committing a genocide. It is actually seeing a higher number of other ethnicities and other cultures in its country over time. So I just don't understand what people are even talking about. Of course, the greatest religion in Israel is going to be Jewish, but of course there's going to be other religions also there. Those religions increased over time. So they just don't like the state of Israel to actually exist. That's exactly why these protesters are protesting. That's not why all of them are protesting. That's why some of them are protesting. Some of them don't even know why they're protesting, as we saw here at the beginning of the show. And then we also saw all of these protesters have a motive that is funded by money, funded by just being popular. So all of these different reasons, there's a lot of different reasons. It's not just one reason. It's not just 2 reasons, 3 reasons, 4 reasons. It's a plethora of different reasons. And it's a sad day because these people are in college and they're going to end up ruining their lives if they continue on this path. They continue on this path. They're going to get themselves arrested because now they're actually encamping. They're trespassing on the facility. You can see that this happened in Florida immediately. As soon as these protesters went over there to try to protest, as soon as they brought their tents, they were immediately arrested because they do not have the right to actually protest. Now, believe it or not, in America, you actually need a permit to protest. Oh my God. So you need a permit. You need to get yourself accepted to protest. You need to get yourself accepted to actually have a big event like this because there's protocols that you need to have. You need to have first responders if it is a really, really big crowd. If you need bathrooms, if you need to rent certain things, the United States needs to know what's going on so it can be in high alert for that very event. You can't just put on an event in the middle of town and just say 10,000 people just come right here. No, you need to actually need to tell the state that you're doing this. You need to get it accepted first. You need to get the permits for this. You need to do everything properly. And obviously, these people are not doing anything properly because they're just like coming from their dorm room to the park of their university and then just camping at the park as if they're going to go camping or something. No, they're not doing any of this right, and it's quite infuriating at the same exact time. Now, we see a lot of different responses. We see Florida's response obviously the best response you could possibly do, because he's doing it by the laws. He's saying, listen, these are the pamphlets you're going to get. If you actually continue to encamp on this, that's a trespassing. We're going to get you for 3 years suspension, or an expulsion. If you are a teacher and you're doing this, you will be fired from the campus. Nobody protests. And he says, listen, of course, you have the right to protest using your voice. You have the protest to you have the right to actually protest using signs. Of course, that's your God-given right, but you do not have the right to block other people's movement. You do not have the right to block other people's ability to have free speech in their classrooms or their ability to learn, because they're paying so much money per year. You do not have the right to block them and then make them not even show up to school, not even show up to the campus in which they're paying for, and now take their classes over Zoom. It's very disgusting. So this is the first article we actually have from the Daily Wire. This is actually a leader of Columbia University's anti-Israel encampment. So he says, and I quote, "Zionists don't deserve to live." And he says, and I quote again, "Be grateful that I'm not going out and murdering Zionists." One of the most vocal student activists leading the anti-Israel Gaza Solidarity Empowerment at Columbia University, Kami James, openly stated in a live stream of an official university inquiry in January that Zionists don't deserve to live. James, who states in the hearing that he goes by he, she, they pronouns, live streamed his meeting with the Columbia Center for Student Success and Intervention, which when he doubled down on the Instagram post that sparked the report. In the report, which he reads aloud at the start of the meeting, James warned Zionists who may want to meet up and fight and so that he wants to fight and kill. Do you see why this is problematic in any way? A Columbia employee asked James during the hearing, to which he responded, no. This is actually some highlights from that event.
My name is Sasha Wakadaway. I'm one of the associate directors in the Center for Student Success and Intervention.
I'm Kamani James. I use he, she, they pronouns. Zionists in my DM wanting to meet up and fight. I don't fight to injure or for there to be a winner or a loser. I fight to kill. See y'all in New York, January 2024.
Mm-hmm. So that's specifically what we're going to be discussing today. Do you see why that's problematic in any way?
No.
Do you think that there's a serious weight in taking someone else's life?
I think there is a serious weight in taking someone's life. And at the same time, I think that taking someone's life in certain case scenarios is necessary and better for the overall world. And so I personally have never killed anyone. Thank the Lord that no one has put me in that position. Though when Hitler died, the world rejoiced. Everyone looks back at that time period and said that Hitler needed to die.
Okay, this point that he's trying to make is just a ridiculous, ludicrous point on its face. Hitler killed hundreds of thousands of people that were innocent for no reason whatsoever other than their ability to actually, or not their ability, their religion, their status. It doesn't make any sense. So, of course, a mass killer, a mass serial killer, people are going to, quote unquote, rejoice over the killing of him, of course. But that's not because of the fact that he thinks a certain way. His actions are what actually took him to that place for people to actually celebrate his death and to actually be relieved that Hitler was finally killed after all of this time of killing other people. It's disgusting. And then he's trying to make the claim here that some people deserve to die because of how they think. That does not make any sense whatsoever. Of course, innocent people do not deserve to die no matter what.
He was exacting an immense amount of harm against the world. And so just like that, during the Haitian Revolution, their Haitian slaves had to kill their masters in order to gain their independence. These were masters who were white supremacists. What is a Zionist? A white supremacist.
That's not true. That's not true at the same exact time. Okay, so you're saying that a person that wants Israel to be a state is a white supremacist. You do realize that there is Jewish people that are black, right? That does not make any sense whatsoever. So now you're saying that black people can be white supremacist. Of course, this is the claim that they're going to try to make so they can sound smarter at the end of the day. but it does not make any coherent sense whatsoever. How does a black person think that they are a white supremacist? It just does not coincide. And then they're going to try to jump through hoops to try to make that a reasonable claim. It's really not whatsoever.
So let's be very clear here. I'm not saying that I'm going to go out and start killing Zionists.
But he just said that he would.
What I'm saying is that if an individual who identifies as a Zionist threatens my physical safety in person, i.e., puts their hands on me, I am going to defend myself.
But that's not what you said in the prior statement. If you did say that I'm going to have some self-defense, I'm going to make sure that I have the right to protect myself. And if I am put in that situation, then I would have self-defense. I will try my best to actually get the right people to protect me, security guards, stuff like that. But saying that you're going to just kill Zionists, quote unquote, because of the fact that they are Zionist is not something that you're going to be able to do in America because they have the freedom of speech to say so. Just like how you have the freedom of speech to say, quote, that's a key word, say whatever you would like. But then as soon as the speech turns to violence and you start threatening other people, then that's harassment, that's assault, that's stuff like that. So you cannot threaten other people.
In that case scenario, it may come to a point where I don't know when to stop.
Okay, so now you're admitting that you have anger issues and that you cannot control your ability to actually retain yourself in a fight. So then that means that you have mental problems, and you need to go seek help.
Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. There should not be Zionists anywhere.
Okay, so now you're saying something completely different. You're going back on the first point here. You're saying that if somebody put their hands on me, I'm going to have self-defense. Okay, that's totally fine. Everybody has the right to self-defense. But then you can't say at the same exact time, this specific person that thinks a certain way does not deserve the right to live. You cannot say that. And then you're comparing Zionists to Nazis. That's not coherent sense at all, because they're totally polar different. But of course, you're trying to make the claim that since Zionists are the polar opposites of Nazis, Nazis are bad, i.e., Zionists are bad. That's not true, because these are totally different people. Zionists believe that Israel has the right to exist, and Nazis think that Israel does not have the right to exist, and Jews are bad. So that's completely different.
Are Nazis.
For my identity as a Black queer woman in New York City, obviously, if I'm on the train and I'm sexually assaulted or harassed in some way, like I may turn around and slap somebody, right? Doing and saying that versus saying that, you fight to kill. And you made a comment earlier where you stated that you may not know your own strength behind why, or you may not have the resistance to stop, right? That is kind of like what I'm taking from what you were sharing, that it could get to that point.
Okay, both of them have taken a break, everyone.
What?
So...
Okay, so now we're just going to just take a break. Oh, in the middle of a meeting? Well, let's just take a break here. Why take a break? It doesn't make any sense. Well, whatever. All of these people, they don't know how to actually combat, ideas that make no sense whatsoever, because they make no sense whatsoever. But of course, you need to think about it logically speaking here. And then bring it down to the exact definition of the word. If a person thinks a certain way, they do not deserve to actually be killed. And if you have no ability to actually control your actions, then you do not deserve to have the right to be out in public. Because if you do not have the ability to control your actions, then you need mental help before you go into polite society. Because if you do not have polite society intentions, then why are we going to put you in existence with polite society? Does not make much sense. Much like most of these people, they make no sense whatsoever, and then they dig themselves a hole that they sadly cannot get themselves out of. So, moving into the next article, we actually have a New York Post article. We have a clueless anti-Israel protester at NYU admits that she has no idea what they are actually protesting, and she wishes that she was more educated. So, of course, we played this clip at the beginning of the show, but we're going to be playing it again so we can break it down here.
And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU is doing.
Is there something that NYU is doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU is doing?
About what?
About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated.
I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia, and we came down. They said NYU students needed our support, so I came down. I heard there's lots of cops.
Okay, so of course, why would you go up to a camera if you do not know what you're actually protesting for? It just does not... The idea of this does not go in their minds whatsoever because of the fact that they just don't know what they're even doing. They're like, oh, well, oh, a camera right there. Let me talk. Oh, get away. Like, how about you just say no questions, no questions, no questions. Like, just say that. But okay, of course, that makes good for good content. So I say keep doing what you're doing. So more than 100 student and facility protesters were arrested during an ordeal that saw cops peddled with bottles and an officer struck in the head with a chair. Yeah, so this cannot be done. The students were demanding that their own school diverse holdings tied to Israel over the war in Gaza created their own tent city in solidarity with the sprawling, disruptive encampment set up at Columbia University. So, of course, Columbia University is where this started, and then NYU is where it ended, and then Florida is where this ideology goes to die. So, of course, Florida has no patience for this type of stuff at all. Like I said at the beginning of the show, as soon as all of this stuff starts emerging in Florida, what Ron DeSantis does immediately is he sends cops out, makes sure that they actually have the ability to actually control the scene. Then he says, listen, if you break any laws, then you will get arrested. That's different than what Governor Abbott is saying in Texas. Governor Abbott is trying to say that if you actually have anti-Semitic takes and say them out loud, you will actually get arrested. So that's completely different than what Governor Abbott is doing. Like I said, I completely agree with the Sixth Amendment, the Civil Rights Act of 1969. So if we go back to see what this act actually is, a lot of people are actually neglecting this little thing right here. So it's Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. What is this? Well, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 provides that no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied benefits of, or subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So, Columbia University, NYU, all of the major colleges in America have federal funding. So, thereby, they are in violation of Title VI because of the fact that they are not providing this education, all of these resources that they are provided by the United States government, these actual ability to actually get the job done, get their work done, get their classwork done. So these protesters are resulting in a violation of Title VI, which the school does not have to put up with. The school does not have to put up with this, but they do because they agree with them. That's the very sad, pathetic excuse that these colleges use. A lot of people are actually ignoring Title VI, which a lot of people have been bringing up. It's very, very interesting what Title VI is, but if you do not agree with Title VI, that's completely fine. You have the right to disagree with an amendment, but it is the amendment at the end of the day. We have to go by the statute. We have to go by the rules. And if you are a college that takes in a federal funding, then you need to actually provide that federal funding, the assistance to other students, because you are provided that assistance from the government. Okay, so if we were to look at where this assistance, like I said, is coming from, we can actually see that foreign assistance was actually present in Columbia and NYU unrest. So if we were to look at this, who is actually funding these protests? So what we see all over the United States is encampments. This is the New York Post article here. There is hard evidence to prove this is all fuzzy. Giving organization happens sometimes indirectly or secretly. Green said that there are enough signs to make a reasonable suspect that is occurring. Those signs include things like having common tents, having those tents all purchased and ready to go, and even the timing of the protest right on the eve of Passover. This is all well timed to put Jewish students in a disadvantaged position because they'd be away for the holiday. And then also the remarkable similarities in language being used by protesters and foreign actors, including Hamas and Hezbollah, he said. Green also referenced how they've been training sessions at Columbia and elsewhere organized by Palestinian groups to help train students on the same talking points as Hamas. And Hezbollah leaders have repeatedly made in speeches that call for a global intifada in assistance of foreign allies. We know that there were these training sessions where we know that they got the speeches, and we can see similarities in the equipment. We can see similarities in the language, Green said. But this is not to say that these movements don't have domestic origin. I mean, I think that they certainly do, but they are being facilitated and fueled by foreign agents. Weeks before the anti-Israel demonstrations reached a fever pitch in the following days, following the Columbia president Metrich Selvik testimony before Congress about anti-Semitism on campus, Columbia University had already suspended several students over a March 24th event hosted at a residential facility that the school said that it already barred twice from occurring. Videos circulating on YouTube shows the virtual position of a 2-hour Resistance 101 seminar organized by Columbia University Apartheid Divrest that featured Carthy Charlotte Cates, an international coordinator of Samadan, the Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network, and her husband Khalid Baraktat. An Israeli government document links Baraktat to the Popular Front of the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP, a United States State Department designated foreign terrorist organization. There's nothing wrong with being a fighter in Hamas, the speakers told students on the call. According to the New York Post, Cates, appearing remotely, said that the most extreme anti-Israel educators at Columbia and its sister college, Bernard, these are the people who are in the front lines defending Palestine and fighting for its liberation. So, as we can tell from this whole entire video, all of these things were actually done on purpose to actually make sure that there are talking points from Hamas echoed in America. We have, and they want to make sure that the Palestinians in Gaza are actually being kept there because of the fact that they have their own state, and they had their own state for years now, and this is exactly what they turned their state into. But they want to neglect that very fact because they want Israel to, quote unquote, leave them alone after, killing thousands and thousands of Jewish people. Doesn't make much sense whatsoever. But with that being said, there is a huge thing happening in America. We need to make sure that America is like Florida. America is like Florida in the aspect of allowing what it is that allowing this stuff, this kind of thing. So if we were to take a look at how Florida is dealing with it, like I was showing earlier in the video, we can actually see that Florida is saying, no, I don't want any part of this. And then what they do is they say this very thing. So in Florida, allowable activities. You have speech, expressing viewpoints, and holding signs in hand. That is allowable activities. But you have prohibited items and activities. You have no amplified sound, no demonstrators and demonstrations inside of buildings, no littering, no camping, no sleeping, no unmanned signs, no blocking egress, no building structures, chairs, stakes, benches, tables, no camping, including tents, sleeping bags, pillows, etc. No disruption, no threats, no violence, no weapons, and no any other items or activities deemed to be non-compliant with policy and regulations by university officials. Consequences for non-compliance. Individuals found responsible for engaging in prohibited activities shall be trespassed from the campus. Students will receive a 3-year trespass and a suspension. Employees will be trespassed and separated from employment. So, so this is University of Florida. That's exactly what Florida is doing right here. They say no, because if you want to protest, that's fine. You have the God-given right to protest, but you do not have the right to threaten other people. You do not have the right to actually camp outside without a permit. You do not have the right to actually have a megaphone at your protest because of the fact that it is actually disturbing other people in their inside of their dorms. So that's not what you're paying so much money for at the campsite or at the at the campus. With that being said, we're going to sum up this episode right here. If you do want to see more takes from me, if you do want to see reactions from me and a lot more, subscribe to this channel because I do post every single day on this channel. If you do enjoy my takes, like this video so I know that you liked it so I can make more in the future. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.